Danny Ridge wiped down the counter for the third time that night. Nothing much happened at a desert fuel station when most travelers were asleep. He had been working the night shift for 2 years now, ever since he left the military. The job was quiet, simple, and exactly what he needed after everything he had seen as a medic. The clock showed 3 in the morning. Danny yawned and checked the security monitors out of habit. All the screens showed empty desert and dark sky. Then something blinked on the thermal sensor. A heat signature, massive and getting closer. Danny leaned forward. The signature was too big to be a truck, too hot to be anything normal. A sound like thunder rolled across the desert. Danny looked up through the window and froze. Something huge was falling from the sky, trailing smoke and fire. It hit the ground near the fuel pumps with a crash that shook the building. Dust exploded into the air. The lights flickered. Danny grabbed the emergency radio, his hand hovering over the call button. Then he stopped. Through the settling dust, he saw movement. Whatever had landed was alive. It was trying to stand up. He moved to the door, military training taking over his fear. His medical kit was in his truck. If something was hurt, he could help. That was what he did. That was who he was. The dust cleared enough for Danny to see what had crashed. His breath caught in his throat. The creature was easily 20 feet long, covered in scales that looked like liquid silver under the station lights. It had 4 powerful legs, wings that were torn and bleeding, and a long neck that ended in a head full of sharp teeth. A dragon. A real living dragon. The creature collapsed near the pumps, breathing hard. One of its wings was bent wrong. Burns covered its body. It turned its head toward Danny and their eyes met. The dragon's eyes were golden and very intelligent. It was not an animal. This was a person. Danny walked forward slowly, hands visible and empty. The dragon watched him come closer. It made a sound, low and rumbling. Then a small device on its neck sparked and a voice came out, broken and crackling. "Help, please." The words were barely understandable through the damaged translator. Danny moved closer, his medical training pushing down his shock. He could see the injuries clearly now. Plasma burns, deep cuts, and something that looked like poison spreading through the creature's bloodstream. It was dying. "I'm going to help you," Danny said clearly. "Stay still." He ran back to his truck and grabbed his medical kit. It was designed for humans, but wounds were wounds. He had to try. When he returned, the dragon had not moved. It watched him with those golden eyes filled with pain and something else. Surprise, maybe. Hope. Danny worked quickly. He cleaned the worst wounds and applied bandages where he could. The dragon's blood was hot and copper-colored. Some of the burns needed special treatment he did not have here. The poison was spreading faster. "You need real medical help," Danny said. "More than I can give. There's a research facility about an hour away. My friend works there. She studies alien biology." The dragon made that rumbling sound again. The translator crackled. "Hunters, coming. They find me. They find you, dangerous. Who's hunting you?" Danny asked, wrapping another wound. "Galactic Accord. I am Wraith, last keeper of truth they want destroyed." The dragon Wraith shifted slightly. "I carry knowledge. Old knowledge. They kill all my people for it. I am..." Maybe last. Danny stopped moving. The last of an entire species. Running for her life. Carrying something important enough to die for. He understood that kind of dedication. "That kind of duty, can you move?" he asked. Wraith tried to stand. Her legs shook but held. "Little, not far. Not fast." "There are old tunnels under this station," Danny said, making a decision that would change his life forever. "Built during the Cold War. They're hidden. We can hide you there until I figure out how to help." "You help me? Why?" Wraith's voice through the translator sounded confused. "Humans are small, weak, why risk?" Danny looked at her, at this massive creature who had crashed to Earth begging for help. "Because you asked. Because you need it. That's enough." He helped guide Wraith around the building to an old access hatch. It took effort, but they got her down into the tunnel system. The space was tight for her, but it would work. Danny brought down water and more medical supplies. He was closing the hatch when his security alarm went off. 3 ships were descending from the sky. Not falling like Wraith had. These moved with purpose and control. They were searching for something. They were searching for her. Danny sealed the hatch and covered it with old equipment. He ran back to the station and tried to look calm. His heart hammered in his chest. Through the window, he watched the 3 ships land in a triangle around his station. They were sleek and dangerous looking. A door opened on the closest ship. Something stepped out that looked like a walking lizard, 9 feet tall and covered in dark scales. It wore armor that gleamed with technology Danny could not begin to understand. 2 more came out behind it. They moved toward the station with weapons drawn. Danny took a deep breath and opened the door to meet them. The lead creature stopped a few feet away. Its eyes were cold and reptilian. When it spoke, its voice was harsh and clicking. Human, a draconid crashed here. Where is it? Danny looked the creature in the eyes and lied. I don't know what a draconid is. Something crashed about an hour ago, hit the desert and kept going. That way. He pointed away from the station. The creature stared at him for a long moment. Danny kept his face calm. He had bluffed his way through worse situations in the war. This was just another mission. Another person who needed protecting. We will search, the creature said finally. We will watch this place. If you are lying, human, you will suffer. Danny nodded and said nothing more. The creatures returned to their ships but did not leave. They spread out surrounding the station, watching, waiting. Danny went back inside and locked the door. His hands were shaking now. He had just made himself a target for alien hunters. He had just started a war he did not understand. But down in those tunnels was someone who needed help. That was all that mattered. He grabbed his radio to call his friend Beth. She was going to think he was crazy. Maybe he was. But crazy or not, Danny Ridge was not the kind of man who turned away from someone in need. Not anymore. Not ever again. The tunnel smelled like old concrete and rust. Danny climbed down with a battery lantern and fresh supplies. Wraith was exactly where he had left her, curled up in the widest section of the underground passage. Her breathing sounded better than before, but the poison was still spreading through her body. Dark veins traced patterns under her silver scales. The hunters are still outside, Danny said, setting down bottles of water. 3 ships. They're scanning everything, but they haven't found you yet. These tunnels are lined with lead, built to survive nuclear war. Probably blocks their sensors. Wraith lifted her head. The translator on her neck buzzed with better clarity now. Danny had adjusted it during the night. You risk much for me. I do not understand this. Danny sat down on an old crate. You keep saying that. Where I come from, we help people who need it. Simple as that. Not simple, Wraith said. Her golden eyes studied him carefully. Most species do not help strangers. Most demand payment, information, servitude. You ask nothing. I'm asking you to live through this, Danny replied. That's enough payment for me. Wraith made a sound that might have been a laugh. You are strange, Danny Ridge. Your species is strange. Perhaps that is why you survived. Survived what? Wraith was quiet for a moment. Then she reached under her wing with her long neck and pulled out something that had been hidden against her body. It was a stone, about the size of a football, smooth and covered in symbols that seemed to glow faintly in the dark. This is why they hunt me, Wraith said. The chronicle stone, last of its kind. My people died protecting these records. Now only I remain to carry this truth. Danny leaned closer. The stone felt warm even from a distance. The symbols shifted and moved across its surface like living things. What kind of records? History. Real history of the galaxy. Not the lies the Accord teaches. Wraith's voice grew stronger as she spoke. My people, the Draconids, we were keepers, scholars. We remembered what others wanted forgotten. This stone holds memories of a war that happened before any living species existed, a war that shaped everything that came after. What does that have to do with hunting you? Danny asked. Wraith's eyes glowed brighter. Because this stone says humans should not exist. Earth should have been destroyed in that ancient war. It was marked for sterilization. A weapon was built to end all life on this planet. But something stopped it. The weapon was never used. Humans survived and evolved when you should have died. Danny felt cold despite the warm air. Why? Why were we supposed to die? The stone does not say. Only that you survived. Only that the beings who ended the war, the ones called architects, they chose to preserve Earth. They left your world alone while they destroyed themselves winning that war. Wraith adjusted her position carefully. The Galactic Accord knows this truth. They fear it. They fear you. That doesn't make sense, Danny said. Earth is nothing special. We barely have space travel. We're isolated out here. Nobody cares about us. The Accord cares very much, Wraith said. They keep you isolated on purpose. They call you primitive. They restrict your travel. They watch your planet constantly. Because they know what the chronicle says. Humans are different. Humans are dangerous. Not because you are violent, but because you survived when you should not have. Because the architects wanted you to survive. Danny stood up and paced the small space. This was too much. Ancient wars, galactic conspiracies, his species marked for death but saved for unknown reasons. It sounded crazy, but Wraith was real. The ships outside were real. The burns on her body were real. What do the architects have to do with anything now, he asked. If they're dead? Maybe not dead, Wraith said quietly. The chronicle suggests they found a way to transcend, to exist beyond time. Some of my people believed the architects were actually humans from far in the future, humans who traveled back to save their own past, to create themselves. Danny's head hurt. That's impossible. Many impossible things are true. Wraith touched the stone gently. I cannot read all of it. The chronicle only opens fully for those it chooses. I am a keeper, but not a key. My people searched for centuries to understand everything written here. We died before we could finish. A sound from above made them both freeze. Footsteps, heavy boots on the concrete floor of the station. Danny killed the lantern and they sat in darkness. Through the thin ceiling he heard voices. The hunters were searching inside now. They sat without moving for what felt like hours. Finally, the sounds faded. Danny waited 10 more minutes before turning the light back on. Wraith's eyes glowed in the dark, watching him. I called my friend before I came down, Danny whispered. Beth works at a research facility that studies alien biology. She's helped injured aliens before. She can treat your wounds properly. Get that poison out of your system. This Beth, you trust her? Wraith asked. With my life, Danny said. We served together. She saved me more times than I can count. Wraith nodded slowly. Then I will trust her too. But Danny Ridge, you must understand. If the Accord discovers humans are helping me, they will not just kill you. They will declare Earth a threat. They will blockade your planet. Maybe worse. Let me worry about that, Danny said. He climbed back up the ladder to check the situation outside. The 3 ships were still there, but they had moved farther from the station, searching the desert in wider circles. This was his chance. He called Beth on a secure line. She answered on the second ring. Danny, it's 4 in the morning. This better be good. I need your help, Danny said. Medical emergency, alien, badly hurt. Hunters after her. Can you get here quietly? There was a pause. Danny, what did you do? Something stupid, probably, he admitted. But she needs help. Real help, will you come? Another pause, longer this time. Then Beth sighed. Give me 2 hours. I'll bring a medical transport. If you get me killed, I'm going to haunt you forever. Deal, Danny said and ended the call. He went back down to Wraith. Help is coming. 2 hours. Can you move when we need to? I will move, Wraith said with determination. I am last of my kind. I carry the last chronicle. I will not die in a hole beneath the desert. If I die, it will be under open sky. You're not dying, Danny said firmly. Not on my watch. Wraith made that laughing sound again. You have decided this? You command death itself? I was a medic for 10 years, Danny said. I got pretty good at arguing with death. Usually won. I believe you, Wraith said, and her voice was warm. Strange human. Strange, stubborn human. I think maybe the architects knew what they were doing when they saved your people. Danny sat down to wait for Beth. Above them, alien hunters searched the desert. Behind them, empires plotted and schemed. Ahead of them, danger waited at every turn. But right here, right now, in this concrete tunnel built by fearful humans decades ago, there was just a man and a dragon. A man who refused to abandon someone in need. A dragon who was beginning to understand that maybe, just maybe, humanity was special after all. Not because of weapons or technology. Not because of some ancient destiny. But because when a stranger crashed in the desert begging for help, a human stopped everything to answer that call. That simple act of compassion might not seem like much. But Wraith was starting to suspect it might be the most powerful force in the entire galaxy. Beth arrived exactly 2 hours later in a medical transport disguised as a supply truck. She was a short woman with dark hair pulled back tight, carrying equipment that looked far too advanced for a simple fuel station emergency. She took one look at Wraith in the tunnel and her eyes went wide. That's a draconid, Beth whispered. They're supposed to be extinct. The Accord declared them all dead 5 years ago. Not all dead, Wraith said through her translator. Just almost. Beth set down her equipment and immediately started scanning Wraith's injuries. Professional training took over her shock. The poison is synthetic. Military grade. Designed specifically to kill draconid biology. Someone wanted you dead badly. The Scaleth, Wraith said. They work for the Accord. They are very good at killing. Well, I'm very good at keeping people alive, Beth said. She looked at Danny. We need to get her to my lab. I can't treat this here. The antidote requires synthesis. Probably 6 hours of work. Your facility is secure? Danny asked. Beth hesitated. Mostly. We have clearance to treat aliens. The government knows about us. But if the Accord is actively hunting her, nowhere is really secure. We go, Wraith decided. I trust you. Both of you. Strange humans who help for no reward. My people would have liked you. They moved Wraith into the medical transport carefully. Danny drove his own truck behind them, watching for any sign of the hunters. The desert highway was empty. Dawn was breaking over the mountains, painting the sky in shades of orange and red. Beth's research facility was built into the side of a mountain, hidden from casual observation. They drove through 3 security checkpoints. Beth's credentials got them past without questions. Deep inside the facility, in a large medical bay designed for treating aliens, they finally stopped. Beth worked for hours. Danny watched as she synthesized the antidote, applied it, monitored Wraith's vital signs. The dragon stayed conscious through all of it, never complaining about the pain. Her eyes tracked everything, always alert, always watching. You were military, Wraith said to Beth during a break in treatment. Army, Beth confirmed, xenobiology specialist. Spent 3 years treating wounded aliens after the trade wars. Met Danny there. He saved my life during an attack on our medical base. And I would do it again, Danny said from where he sat in the corner. Wraith looked between them. Your species forms bonds easily. Strong bonds. My people were solitary. We came together only to share knowledge. We never understood friendship the way you do. Maybe that's why we survived, Beth said quietly. We protect each other. The antidote worked. Slowly, the dark veins under Wraith's scales faded. Her breathing became easier. Her wounds started to heal at a remarkable rate. By late afternoon, she was strong enough to stand without shaking. Thank you, Wraith said to Beth. You have given me time. Perhaps enough time to complete my mission. What mission? Beth asked. Wraith looked at Danny. He nodded. She could trust Beth. Wraith carefully pulled out the chronicle stone and set it on a table. Beth approached it slowly, scientifically, her scanner already running. Incredible, Beth breathed. The technology in this is beyond anything I've ever seen. These symbols are data storage. The stone is one massive computer. How much information does it hold? The history of the galaxy, Wraith said. Knowledge my people died protecting. Knowledge the Accord wants destroyed. Danny had been thinking about this all day. Can I see it? Can I touch it? The chronicle chooses who can read it, Wraith said. I am its keeper, but it shows me only pieces. It has waited for someone else, perhaps for centuries. Danny reached out and placed his hand on the stone. The moment his skin made contact, the world exploded into light. He was no longer in the medical bay. He stood on a planet he did not recognize under a purple sky. Massive ships filled the horizon, firing weapons that tore reality itself. He saw beings of pure energy fighting creatures made of metal and flesh. He watched worlds burn. He watched species die by the billions. Then he saw Earth. Young Earth covered in ice and primitive life. He saw weapons aimed at his planet, ready to sterilize it completely. He saw the fingers on the trigger. Then he saw those same beings stop, hesitate, choose differently. The vision shifted. He saw the future. His future. Humans spreading across the stars, not as conquerors but as something else. Mediators, peacekeepers, bridge builders between species that hated each other. He saw humans standing between wars, offering hands instead of weapons. He saw the galaxy changed because humanity chose compassion over conquest. But he also saw the cost. He saw the Accord fighting to prevent this future. He saw Earth blockaded, invaded, destroyed in some timelines. He saw the war that was coming because he chose to help one injured dragon on a desert highway. Then he saw the architects. They looked like humans. Old humans with tired eyes and gray hair. They spoke to him directly across time itself. We were you, they said. We lived in the far future. We saw our species die because we arrived too late. We saw the galaxy tear itself apart, so we went back. We saved ourselves. We gave you the gift we never had. Time, use it wisely. Danny pulled his hand away from the stone and collapsed. Beth caught him before he hit the ground. Wraith moved forward, her eyes wide. "You saw," Wraith said. "It was not a question. The chronicle showed you everything. It shows you." Danny's head spun. His eyes could not focus properly. When he looked at Wraith, he saw more than just a dragon. He saw her genetic code written in light. He saw the energy flowing through her body. He saw connections to the world around them that he had never perceived before. "What happened to me?" Danny asked. "The chronicle shared itself with you," Wraith said with something like awe in her voice. "It does this rarely. Only when it finds someone who can carry the burden of knowing. You are changed now, connected to the data. You can access it whenever you need. You have become a living library." Beth scanned Danny quickly. His brain activity is off the charts. New neural pathways forming. "This is impossible. You can't just rewire a human brain like this." "The architects could," Wraith said. "They built you to be able to do this, to interface with their technology. You are exactly what they designed you to be." Danny stood up slowly. The dizziness was fading. The new perceptions were becoming normal. He looked at his hands and saw the atomic structure of his own skin. It was beautiful and terrifying. "The Accord knows," Danny said. "They know what we're meant to become. That's why they fear us. That's why they keep us isolated." "They saw the same future I just saw." "What future?" Beth demanded. Danny met her eyes. "A future where humanity stops the wars, where we become the peacekeepers the galaxy needs, where our gift for compassion and cooperation actually matters. The architects designed us to be the species that brings everyone together." "That's a lot of pressure," Beth said weakly. "Yeah," Danny agreed. "But I think we can handle it." An alarm started blaring. Red lights flashed throughout the facility. Beth ran to a computer terminal and her face went pale. "Accord ships just breached orbit. Multiple vessels. They're heading here. Someone told them where we are." Wraith growled deep in her throat. "They found me. They always find me." "Then we run," Danny said. His mind was already working through possibilities, accessing information from the chronicle without even trying. "I know where we can go. Wraith, your people had a base. In the asteroid belt. It's still there." "Still hidden?" Wraith stared at him. "How do you know this?" Danny tapped his head. "I know a lot of things now. We get to that base, we can figure out our next move. But first we need to get out of this facility before the Accord locks it down." "My ship," Wraith said. "They towed it to the military base 30 miles east. If we can reach it, we can escape." Beth was already packing equipment. "This is insane. We're going to steal a spaceship from a military base and fly to an asteroid?" "Yes," Danny said simply. "Unless you have a better idea?" Beth thought for a moment, then shook her head. "Let's go steal a spaceship." They ran through the facility toward the vehicle bay. Behind them, alarms screamed warnings. Above them, alien ships descended. And inside Danny's head, the knowledge of an entire civilization whispered secrets that might just save them all. The military base was chaos when they arrived. Accord ships filled the sky above it, scanning and searching. But they were looking for one injured draconid, not a medical transport with proper clearance. Beth drove straight through the main gate with her credentials displayed. Sometimes the best hiding place was in plain sight. "Wraith's ship will be in the impound area," Beth said, navigating through the base. "They store recovered alien vehicles there. I treated a pilot here last month. I remember the layout." Danny sat in the back with Wraith, his new awareness showing him things he had never noticed before. He could feel the electronic signals around them, see the radar waves passing through the vehicle, sense the nervous energy of the soldiers rushing past. The chronicle had not just given him knowledge. It had expanded his entire perception of reality. "There," Wraith said, pointing with her snout. Through a chain-link fence, they could see her ship. It was smaller than Danny expected, maybe the size of a large bus with organic curves and silver metal that matched Wraith's scales. Guards stood around it, but they looked confused and disorganized. The Accord attack had everyone distracted. Beth parked the transport. They climbed out carefully. Wraith stretched her wings, testing them. The medical treatment had worked well. She was not at full strength, but she could fly and fight if needed. "I'll handle the guards," Beth said. She walked toward them with confidence, her credentials ready. Danny and Wraith moved along the fence line, staying low. Danny could hear Beth talking, using medical jargon and official protocols. The guards were buying it. Danny placed his hand on the fence. The chronicle knowledge told him exactly where the electronic lock was, how it functioned, what codes it needed. He touched the control panel and his new awareness reached into the electronics. The gate clicked open. They slipped through and reached the ship. Wraith placed her claw on a panel and the door opened with a soft hiss. Inside was cramped but functional. Everything was sized for a draconid. Danny had to duck and squeeze into the co-pilot seat. Beth came running, guards chasing behind her. She dove through the door and Wraith sealed it behind her. Go, go, go! The ship lifted off with a lurch. Guards scattered below them. Alarms started screaming. Above them, the Accord ships detected the movement and turned toward them. Wraith's claws moved across the controls with practiced speed. Hang on, she warned. The ship shot forward, acceleration pressing Danny and Beth back into their seats. They blasted through the atmosphere in seconds. Stars appeared around them. Earth dropped away below, beautiful and blue and suddenly very fragile looking. Accord ships pursuing, Wraith said, checking her displays. 3 interceptors. Fast ships. This will be difficult. Can we outrun them? Danny asked. No, but I do not need to outrun them. I need to reach the asteroid belt. Once there, I know the hiding places. Wraith's ship dodged and weaved. Weapons fire streaked past them, missing by meters. Danny's expanded awareness was screaming warnings. He could sense the energy weapons charging, predict where they would fire. Left! He shouted. Wraith banked hard left. A plasma bolt passed through the space they had just occupied. How did you know? Wraith asked. I can feel it, Danny said. The chronicle showed me how to sense energy patterns. I can predict their shots. Then keep doing it, Beth said from the back, holding on for dear life. They ran for hours. Wraith's flying skills were incredible, but the Accord ships were relentless. They made it past the moon, past Mars, into the asteroid belt. Wraith navigated through the floating rocks with confidence, but the pursuers matched her move for move. They're hurting us, Danny realized. Pushing us toward something. A trap, Wraith confirmed. Standard Scaleth tactics. But we have no choice. We must reach the base. The Draconid base appeared ahead, built into a massive asteroid. It looked dead and abandoned. The Accord ships held back, forming a blockade. They had their prey cornered. Now they would wait and watch. Wraith brought her ship into a hidden docking bay. The doors closed behind them and atmosphere flooded the space. They had made it, but they were trapped. When they exited the ship, the base felt like a tomb. Emergency lights flickered. The air was stale. Nothing had been here for years. My people built this as a refuge, Wraith said quietly, her voice echoing in the empty corridors. When the persecution began, 40 families lived here. Scholars, historians, keepers of knowledge. The Accord found them. Killed them all. I was away on a mission when it happened. I returned to find everyone dead. They walked deeper into the base. Bodies had been removed long ago, but signs of violence remained. Scorched walls, broken equipment, the remnants of a massacre. Beth put her hand on Wraith's shoulder in silent sympathy. In the central chamber, they found other draconids. Not bodies, but living ones. 47 individuals, all thin and tired-looking. The survivors. They stared at Wraith in shock. Keeper Wraith? An old draconid said, moving forward. We thought you were dead. I thought you were too, Elder Ameth, Wraith said. There was joy in her voice, but also deep sadness. 47, out of billions. This was all that remained of her entire species. Danny and Beth stood back while the draconids reunited. They spoke in their own language, fast and emotional. Finally, Elder Ameth approached them. So, the old dragon said, his translator clearer than Wraith's. These are the humans who helped you. Wraith told me through our communication. You have our gratitude. To help a draconid now is to paint a target on yourself. We noticed, Danny said dryly. Ameth laughed, a sound like rocks tumbling. Come, there is much to discuss. Much you need to understand. He led them to a room filled with screens and data displays. We have been monitoring everything. The Accord is terrified. Not of Wraith, of you, Danny Ridge. Me? Why? Because the Chronicle chose you, Ameth said. The Accord has sensors that can detect Chronicle activation. They know you interfaced with it. They know you carry the knowledge now. You are the first non-draconid to ever bond with a Chronicle stone. They fear what that means. Beth frowned. What does it mean? Ameth brought up a star map. The architects left technology hidden throughout the galaxy. Powerful technology. Only those bonded with a chronicle can access it. For thousands of years, only draconids could do this. We used it sparingly, carefully. We never abused the power. But now a human can access it too. The Accord knows the architects built you to be compatible with their systems. They fear you will find the weapons caches, the factories, the ancient armadas. I don't want weapons, Danny said. I just wanted to help someone who needed it. I know, Ameth said kindly. That is exactly why the Chronicle chose you. It seeks those with good intentions, those who will use power wisely. But the Accord does not care about your intentions. They see only the threat. They see humans awakening to their true purpose. Which is? Beth asked. Ameth touched the screens and images appeared. Humans in the visions Danny had seen, standing between warring species, negotiating peace, building alliances. The architects designed you to be mediators, bridge builders. You have a gift for empathy and cooperation that most species lack. You can understand different perspectives. You can find common ground. The architects knew the galaxy would need this gift. They built you to fill this role. The Accord doesn't want mediators, Danny said, understanding. They want to maintain their power. Peace would threaten that. Exactly, Ameth said. So they keep you isolated, primitive, powerless. But now you have the Chronicle. Now you have the keys to the architect's legacy. This changes everything. Wraith moved forward. There is more. We have been searching for other Chronicle stones. We found references to one hidden on Earth, in the frozen south. If we could recover it, we could access even more knowledge, perhaps find the tools we need to stop the Accord. Antarctica? Beth said. There's an architect facility on Antarctica? Hidden beneath the ice for 100,000 years, Ameth confirmed. Waiting for humans to be ready. Waiting for someone like Danny to awaken. Danny felt the weight of it all pressing down. An entire species counting on him. His own planet in danger because he chose to help. Ancient technology waiting to be discovered. A war coming that could destroy everything. But when he looked, at Wraith, at the 47 survivors of a genocide, he knew he had made the right choice. Sometimes doing the right thing meant accepting terrible responsibility. Sometimes kindness led to conflict, but that did not make kindness wrong. We go to Antarctica, Danny decided. We find this facility. We learn what the architects left for us. Then we figure out how to stop the Accord without starting a war that destroys Earth. They will not let us reach Earth, Wraith said. Their blockade is complete. Danny smiled. The Chronicle whispered secrets in his mind. I know a way through. Trust me. Beth laughed. We've come this far on trust. Why stop now? Outside, the Accord ships waited. Inside, a human touched by ancient knowledge prepared to reclaim his species' birthright. The galaxy was about to learn what humanity was truly capable of. And it all started because one man refused to ignore a stranger's plea for help. Breaking through the Accord blockade required doing something unexpected. The Chronicle whispered ancient codes in Danny's mind, access sequences to systems that had been dormant for millennia. He stood at a control panel in the Draconid base, his hands moving across the interface with confidence he should not have had. There, Danny said. The architects built emergency tunnels through space. Shortcuts. They're still active but hidden. The Accord doesn't know about them because they were never part of the ancient war. They just hid and survived. A portal opened in space near the asteroid, swirling with energy. Wraith stared at it in awe. In all our studies, we never found these. How did you access them? The Chronicle showed me, Danny said. It's like the knowledge just downloads when I need it. I don't even have to think about it anymore. This is what the Accord fears, Elder Ameth said. You are becoming what humans were designed to be, a living bridge between the past and future. They split into two groups. Wraith would lead a team to rescue Beth, who had insisted on being bait. She had contacted the Accord with false information, allowing herself to be captured to draw their attention away from the base. It was risky but necessary. Meanwhile, Danny and Ameth would take another ship to Earth to Antarctica to find the architect facility. Be careful, Danny told Wraith as they prepared to leave. Always, Wraith said. She touched her snout to his forehead gently. You saved my life, strange human. Now I will save your friend. We are even. We're way past keeping score, Danny replied. The portal took them exactly where they needed to go. Wraith's team emerged near the prison station orbiting Jupiter. Danny's ship appeared in Earth's atmosphere above Antarctica, invisible to sensors thanks to architect technology that Danny activated without conscious thought. The facility was buried under 2 miles of ice. But the chronicle showed Danny exactly where to land, where to dig, how to access the entrance. The ice melted away at his command, responding to codes transmitted from his mind. Ameth watched with fascination. The architects gave your species tremendous gifts, the old dragon said. But the greatest gift was simply who you are. Your compassion, your stubborn refusal to abandon those in need. Technology can be learned. Character cannot. The entrance opened into a vast complex. Everything was pristine, preserved perfectly by systems that had run continuously for 100,000 years. Lights activated as they walked, responding to Danny's presence. Screens flickered to life. Data streamed in languages that should not have existed yet. This is more than a facility, Danny breathed. It's a factory, a shipyard, an armory. The architects left us everything we'd need to defend ourselves and others. They knew war would come again, Ameth said. They hoped humanity would be ready when it did. Danny moved deeper, drawn by instinct to the central chamber. There, floating, in a suspension field, was another chronicle stone, larger than the one Wraith carried, more complex. When Danny touched it, the visions came flooding back, but stronger this time. He saw the architects clearly now. They were humans from thousands of years in the future. They had mastered time itself, but arrived too late to prevent a catastrophic war that destroyed the galaxy. So they went back. They seeded their own past. They built humanity to be better than they had been, to act sooner, to care more deeply about strangers. We failed, the architects told him across time. We were too focused on ourselves, on our own survival. By the time we tried to help others, it was too late. Don't make our mistake. Help everyone, not just your own kind. That's why we built you with such strong empathy. Use it. The vision shifted. He saw what was happening at the prison station. Wraith and her team had infiltrated successfully. Beth was being held in a maximum security cell, but she had not been idle. During her captivity, she had gathered intelligence, hacked computer systems, learned the Accord's weaknesses. The Accord. Council is divided, Beth told Wraith as they broke her out. Half want to negotiate with Earth. They're tired of the lies, but the other half wants total war. They'll destroy Earth rather than let humans claim the architect legacy. An alarm blared. Guards responded quickly. Wraith fought with surprising ferocity. She was a scholar, but her species had claws and fire breath for a reason. The Draconid team moved with her, covering each other, working together with practiced efficiency. They made it back to their ship, but the Accord fleet was already moving to intercept. Ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel all around them. Weapons charged. This was it. The Accord was done playing games. Back in Antarctica, Danny felt the danger through his connection to the Chronicle. He could sense Wraith's fear, Beth's determination. He could feel the Accord's weapons powering up. His friends were going to die unless he did something. The facility has weapons, Danny said. Ancient ones, powerful ones. I could disable the Accord fleet from here, stop them without destroying them. Should you? Ameth asked carefully. That is a decision that will change your species forever. Once you use architect weapons, the galaxy will know humans are active players. There will be no going back to isolation. Danny thought about it for exactly 3 seconds. My friends need help. The galaxy needs to change. The Accord's lies have hurt too many species. Time to end this. He activated the facility's defense grid. Across the solar system, ancient satellites came online. They had been sleeping in orbit for longer than human civilization had existed. Now they woke up at Danny's command. Energy beams, precise and controlled, struck every Accord ship simultaneously, not destroying them, but disabling them. Weapons offline. Engines dead. Communications jammed. The Accord fleet floated helplessly. Wraith's ship flew right past them to safety. On 1,000 worlds, people detected what had just happened. The architect's systems were active. Humanity had claimed its inheritance. Danny collapsed from the effort. Ameth caught him. Easy, young one. Using this much power takes practice, you will learn. Did it work? Danny asked weakly. See for yourself, Ameth said, pointing to a screen. Messages were flooding in from across the galaxy. Species that had been silent for years suddenly found their voices. They had watched the Accord disable a Draconid ship, watched them hunt the last scholars to near extinction. They had been too afraid to speak. But seeing Accord ships disabled so easily, seeing humans willing to fight for others gave them courage. One by one, species began withdrawing from the Accord, declaring independence, demanding truth and transparency. The power structure that had dominated the galaxy for centuries was crumbling. You did it, Ameth said with wonder. Not through conquest or violence. Through one act of compassion that cascaded into revolution. This is the human gift. This is why the architects chose you. Wraith's ship landed in Antarctica hours later. She rushed out and found Danny awake and recovering. You insane human. You activated the entire defense network. Do you know what you've done? Saved you? Danny offered. Wraith laughed and cried at the same time. Yes, and changed the galaxy forever. Beth was right behind her, looking exhausted but triumphant. Danny, there are 17 species asking to meet with Earth representatives. 5 want to form an alliance. The Accord Council is in emergency session. Half of them are talking about surrender. Surrender? Danny said. I don't want them to surrender. I want them to tell the truth. Admit what they've done. Make things right. That's what I told them you'd say, Beth said with a smile. They're not used to dealing with humans. They keep expecting military demands, territory, tribute. When I said you just wanted honesty and justice, they thought I was lying. Danny stood up carefully. His body still ached from channeling so much power. We need to be smart about this. Earth isn't ready for full galactic integration. We need time. Allies. We need to rebuild the Draconid population. There's a lot to do. Then we do it together, Wraith said firmly. Human and Draconid. Working as the architects intended. Building bridges. Creating peace. Outside the facility, snow began to fall. It was beautiful and quiet. But Danny knew the quiet would not last. The Accord hardliners would not give up easily. There would be resistance. Possibly war. Earth needed to prepare. But for now, in this moment, they had won. One human's decision to help a stranger had sparked a revolution. Compassion had proven stronger than fear, and the galaxy was beginning to understand that humanity was exactly what the architects had designed them to be. Not warriors, not conquerors, but the species that cared enough to fight for everyone's freedom. That was humanity's true power. That was the gift they would share with the stars. The Accord did not accept defeat quietly. 3 days after Danny disabled their fleet, they returned with reinforcements. Hundreds of ships assembled at the edge of the solar system. Their message was simple and brutal. Surrender the chronicle stones and the humans who bonded with them, or Earth would be destroyed. Danny stood in the architect facility's command center, watching the fleet gather. Beth worked at nearby consoles, coordinating with Earth's defense forces. Wraith and the other Draconids had positioned their ships between Earth and the Accord armada. 47 dragons against hundreds of warships. The math was not encouraging. They're serious this time, Beth said. The hardliners took control of the Accord Council. They're not interested in negotiation anymore. Then we give them something they can't ignore, Danny said. He had been thinking about this since the fleet appeared. We broadcast the chronicle, everything it contains. Send it to every world in the galaxy simultaneously. Make it impossible to suppress the truth. Elder Ameth entered the room. That will destabilize governments across hundreds of worlds. Species who built their authority on Accord lies will collapse. There will be chaos. There will be freedom, Danny countered. The truth deserves to be free. People deserve to know their real history. It could start wars, Ameth warned. Or end them, Danny said. The Accord maintains power through fear and lies. Take that away and what do they have left? Wraith's voice came through the communication system. The Accord fleet is moving. They're forming attack formation. We have maybe an hour before they strike. Danny placed his hands on the control panel. The facility responded to him instantly, systems activating throughout the complex. Then we have an hour to change everything. Beth, can you adapt the broadcast system to reach every inhabited world? Already done, Beth said. I've been preparing for this since we got here. One command and the truth goes everywhere. Wraith, Danny said into the communicator. I need you to buy us time. Just 30 minutes. Can you do it? There was a pause. Then Wraith's voice steady and sure. We are the last Draconids. We die protecting truth. It is what we were born to do. We will give you 30 minutes. The Draconid ships moved forward to meet the Accord fleet. It looked like insects facing a tsunami. But the dragons had something the Accord did not expect. They had courage born from righteousness. They had nothing left to lose. And they had human allies working miracles behind them. The battle began with fury. Wraith and her people flew patterns that confused the Accord sensors. They used the asteroids as cover, striking fast and disappearing. They were outnumbered but not outmatched. Every Draconid was a scholar, but they were also the descendants of survivors. They knew how to fight when fighting mattered. Danny worked frantically preparing the broadcast. The chronicle opened itself completely to him, offering every record, every secret, every truth it had protected for thousands of years. He compiled it all into a single transmission that would translate automatically into every known language. Ready? Danny said. Beth, activate the broadcast. Beth's finger hovered over the control. This really will change everything. Are you sure? Danny thought about the injured dragon who had crashed at his fuel station. He thought about the Draconids who had died protecting knowledge. He thought about the architects who had traveled through time to give humanity a chance to do better. He thought about all the species living under Accord lies, afraid and ignorant of their own history. I'm sure, Danny said. Do it. Beth activated the broadcast. The Architect facility's quantum transmitters sent the message across space instantly. It reached every world simultaneously, appearing on every device capable of receiving transmissions. There was no warning, no chance to block it. Suddenly, billions of beings across the galaxy were seeing the truth. They saw the ancient war. They saw which species had fought and which had hidden. They saw the Architect's sacrifice. They saw Earth marked for destruction and then deliberately spared. They saw the Accord's formation, built on lies about who had actually won the war. They saw the systematic genocide of the Draconids for protecting this history. And they saw humans, not as primitive animals to be kept isolated, but as the Architect's greatest creation, a species designed to bridge differences, to mediate conflicts, to care about strangers. They saw Danny's first act of helping Wraith, and how that simple compassion had rippled into revolution. In the space above Earth, the Accord fleet faltered. Ships began dropping out of formation. Crews were watching the broadcast too, learning that their entire civilization was built on lies. Some species had been told they were heroes of the ancient war. Now they learned they had been cowards who hid while others fought. The Scaleth commander Voss watched the transmission from his flagship. He saw his ancestors hiding in deep space while the galaxy burned. He saw them emerging only after the war was over, claiming credit they had not earned. Shame filled him, hot and bitter. Stand down, Voss ordered his fleet. Weapons offline. This battle is over, not all ships obeyed. The hardliners, the fanatics, those too invested in the old lies to accept truth, they continued forward. About 30 ships broke formation and accelerated toward Earth. They would destroy the humans even if it cost them everything. Danny saw them coming. He could have used the facility's weapons to destroy them. The ancient armaments could vaporize the attacking ships in seconds. But that was not the human way. That was not what the Architects had designed them for. No more killing, Danny said. He accessed different systems, defensive ones. Energy shields appeared around Earth, massive and impenetrable. The attacking ships struck the shields and bounced off harmlessly. Their weapons could not penetrate. They fired until their power reserves were empty, achieving nothing. Then human ships launched from Earth. Not warships, but science vessels, medical frigates, exploration craft. They surrounded the Accord attackers carefully. Human voices broadcast on all frequencies. We don't want to fight you, the humans said. We don't want revenge. We just want honesty. We want peace. Stand down and let's talk. There's been enough death in this galaxy. Let's try something different. One by one, the attacking ships surrendered. They had no power left anyway. But more than that, they were tired. Tired of fighting. Tired of lying. Tired of being afraid. The humans offered something different. Something that felt like hope. Wraith's ship limped back to the facility. It was damaged badly, but she had survived. When she landed, Danny was there to meet her. She collapsed into his arms, exhausted. "We did it," Wraith whispered. "My people can finally rest. The truth is free." "Your people can do more than rest," Danny said. "They can rebuild. We'll help. Genetic restoration, medical support, whatever you need. The Draconids will survive." Wraith looked at him with those golden eyes. "You are a strange species. You could have let me die in the desert. Instead, you saved me and changed the galaxy. Why?" "Because you asked for help," Danny said simply. That's all that mattered. Messages flooded in from across the galaxy. Species were overthrowing Accord governments. New alliances were forming. The reformist faction, those who wanted truth and cooperation, they were winning. A new galactic council was being proposed, one built on transparency and equality. Earth was invited to join immediately. Not as junior members or primitives to be managed, but as equals. As the species the architects had designed them to be, mediators, bridge builders, the ones who cared. Beth coordinated Earth's response, working with governments worldwide. It was chaos, but good chaos. Humanity was stepping onto the galactic stage, ready to help, ready to listen, ready to make things better. Elder Ameth stood with Danny on the facility's observation deck, watching the stars. "You have fulfilled the architect's vision. You have become what they dreamed you could be." "We're just getting started," Danny said. "There's so much to fix. So many species that need help. So many old wounds to heal. And you will heal them," Ameth said with certainty. "Because that is who you are. That is humanity's gift." 5 years passed. Earth became a center of galactic diplomacy. Humans traveled freely among the stars, welcomed everywhere as neutral mediators and honest brokers of peace. Old conflicts were resolved through human intervention. New alliances formed with human help. The Draconid population grew slowly but steadily. With human medical technology and genetic restoration, their numbers reached 200. They built a new archive on Earth, teaching human children the importance of truth and knowledge. Wraith led them, the last keeper who had survived to see her species' resurrection. Danny returned to his old fuel station sometimes. It was a museum now, preserved exactly as it had been the night Wraith crashed, a memorial to the moment one person's compassion changed everything. Children visited to learn about the first contact that mattered, the moment humanity showed the galaxy who they really were. Danny stood in the desert one night looking at the stars. They were no longer unknown. Now they were full of friends, allies, species that humanity had helped. The galaxy was not perfect. There were still conflicts, still problems. But there was also hope, real hope. Because humans refused to give up on anyone, a message came through his communicator. A species on the far side of the galaxy had found something, another chronicle stone, more architect secrets. They wanted human help to study it safely. Danny smiled. He called Wraith. She answered immediately, her translator clear and strong now. "Another chronicle," Danny said. "They want our help." Wraith's laugh was warm. "Of course they do. When do we leave?" "How about now?" Danny said. "Always now with you humans," Wraith said with affection. "Never waiting. Always helping. The galaxy is better for it." They met at the spaceport. Beth joined them along with a dozen other humans and Draconids. A team, a family. They boarded a ship built with combined human and architect technology, the best of ancient wisdom and modern innovation. As they lifted off, Danny looked back at Earth one last time. His home. The planet that should have been destroyed but was saved. The world that produced a species designed for compassion. He felt proud of what humanity had become. Proud of what they would continue to be. The stars called to them. The galaxy needed them. And they would answer. Because that was what humans did. They helped. They cared. They refused to turn away from anyone in need. It had all started with one injured dragon begging for help at a fuel station in the desert. One moment of compassion that rippled across the galaxy. One human who chose kindness over safety. That was humanity's power. Not weapons or technology. Not domination or conquest. Just simple, stubborn, beautiful compassion. The willingness to help a stranger even when it was dangerous. Even when it cost everything. The architects had designed them well. The galaxy was learning to be grateful for that design, and humanity was just beginning to understand the full scope of what they could accomplish together. The adventure was not over. It was just beginning. And Danny Ridge, former fuel station attendant, now guardian of ancient knowledge, could not wait to see what came next.